Hey, what's up, Crypto Army? I'm Travis, your crypto newbie, bringing you my experiences so you have to learn things the hard way. Just a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor, and none of my content should be viewed as financial advice. Today, we're going to talk about crypto terms. This is primarily designed for somebody that is just getting into cryptocurrency and doesn't know most of the terms. So this is kind of your primer on what are the relevant terms, what are you going to run into when you're in Telegram or Discord or talking to people about cryptocurrency, just so you understand what people are talking about when you hear these terms. It can be a little daunting learning all the different terminology that people use in the crypto space. So hopefully you find this content helpful. Now I'm going to cover the most common and most important terms first, and then I'm going to move into more of an alphabetical approach to a lot of the other terms you should know about, but you might not necessarily hear every day or are less important to being successful in the crypto space. So first we're going to talk about FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. You're going to hear this all the time, all over the place. And you're going to see people type FUD, F-U-D, all over the place. So it's good to know what FUD is and whether it's good and whether it's bad. So what are some areas where it's healthy to have a little bit of fear, uncertainty, and doubt? Now here's Bitcoin. And right here, it was $62,000 back in April. Now, if we go over here in June, it's $31,000. If you bought a full Bitcoin up here for $62,000 and a few months later it's worth $31,000, my guess is you've got a little bit of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And you might be thinking, what did I do? That is completely natural. Now what you need to do is keep control of your FUD and realize, just like in the stock market, cryptos are volatile. They go up and down. Right now, we're in a bear market when I'm recording this video. Now it's not down to 31,000, but it's getting pretty close. So there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt inside of the market. The other thing to be aware of for FUD is people love to spread fear, uncertainty, and doubt, especially opposing communities. In the crypto space, a lot of people see themselves as competitors with other projects. And sometimes it's somewhat true, but for the most part, people should really diversify their portfolio. So you should be looking to invest in more than just one crypto. But the thought process for some of these crypto projects and some of the communities is that every single person that invests in a different project is money not invested in their project. So they will do everything they can to spread fear, uncertainty, and doubt, to include going into Telegram and Discord and Twitter and spreading rumors about the project just to create FUD. Kind of seems like high school all over again, in my opinion, but it happens, so you need to be aware of it. Don't believe everything you read or hear about your project. Do some research and make sure that it's legitimate information. And then always ask the question of, does this even matter? Because a lot of times they'll spread FUD, and generally it'll impact the project because people don't realize what they're hearing and they sell their positions, not realizing that the FUD really doesn't matter. FUD is everywhere in crypto, so you need to be aware of it, keep on the lookout for it, and always ask yourself, does this really matter for the crypto that I'm investing in? If it doesn't, then move on. Just realize that there's probably going to be some other people that didn't do the very basic thing of asking the question of, does this really matter? And they're going to sell other positions. They're a loss. When the crypto does well, they'll regret their decision to pull out of the project. Next up is paper hands, the panic seller. You want to have diamond hands. What are these two terms I'm talking about? Paper hands and diamond hands. So paper hands is a panic seller, somebody that gets some bad information, sometimes some FUD, and immediately sells. And sometimes when you sell, these cryptos have significant fees and you end up upside down on your investment. Who wants to be negative return on their investment? I know I don't. With this, diamond hands becomes the opposite of paper hands. It's somebody that can withstand all the FUD out there, can remember the fundamentals of the project, the reason why they invested in the project, realize that the information that they're hearing doesn't really matter, or they can take the information in and realize that they're going to be okay in the long term of that project. Generally speaking, somebody with diamond hands does better in cryptocurrency, because they don't panic sell. They don't end up with a negative return on investment. You can spend a lot of time underwater in your investment in crypto as the market rebounds. Just bear with it and keep the 5 to 8 year perspective in mind when you're investing in cryptocurrencies. Go look at just about any cryptocurrency out there and see what's gone on for the last 5 to 8 years. When you look at that and you understand that the fundamentals of the project you're investing in are good, you can see why there's benefit in diamond hands. Next up, we've got FOMO, fear of missing out. So sometimes there's a lot of hype in a community, a lot of excitement, a lot of fear of missing out, and you invest before you really do your research, and sometimes that doesn't go well. Sometimes you can end up losing all of your money. Sometimes you can make mistakes. Sometimes you can make transfer errors and transfer the money to the entirely wrong place. A lot of things can go wrong when you let the fear of missing out drive your decisions. You need to sit back, relax, think about what you're doing, and make sure you've done your research to make sure that this is something you actually want to do. Don't let the fear of missing out drive you to make a bad decision. As I said, cryptocurrencies are volatile. You're going to hear the word buy the dip all the time. Whenever the cryptocurrency's price drops, you're going to hear buy the dip. It's always best to buy low and sell high. It's pretty common sense approach to cryptocurrency. If you're buying high and selling low, you might have a problem. My guess is that you'll run away from the crypto market. So what does this look like? If we go over to Bitcoin, buying the dip means you're buying down here when it's low. And when you buy down here at 34,000, and then over the course of a couple months, you're back up to 62,000, you've done pretty good for yourself. Now, I'm looking at this chart pretty well zoomed out. More than likely when you buy the dip, it's probably going to be down here. It's going to go up a little bit, and then it's going to go way back down here, and you're going to kick yourself for buying right here. But it's nearly impossible to predict this. No matter how many times you do technical analysis, it's not 100%. As much as a lot of people will tell you that it is, it isn't. Most often, when there's a dip, there's a corresponding increase that follows it. Sometimes it can take months, but generally speaking, there's a pretty steady increase in the crypto market, just like there's in the stock market. And if we look at this over all of the period of time, you can see that. But when you were down here, it looked pretty flat. But if I was to zoom in down here, because you can see the prices are generally increasing, you're going from $100 to $600, back down, back up to $600, and then all of a sudden you're into the thousands and thousands of dollars, and then you're into the tens of thousands of dollars over the course of several years. This also illustrates that 5 to 8 years that I was talking about. Imagine if you'd invested in Bitcoin 8 years ago. Where would you be now? Probably sitting on a beach someplace drinking Mai Tais. Next, we've got buy the rumor, sell the news. Rumors are all over the place. But what am I really talking about? To illustrate, we'll talk about Saitama. Now, Saitama was launching their wallet right around the top over here. So the lead up here is the rumor. So people are buying the rumor. The launch day is coming. We're almost there. And then you get to the top here. And I actually did a video within a day or two of this saying that this was likely to happen. That people were probably buying the rumor because the price was going up. So get ready for a drastic drop when they start selling the news, which is when the wallet actually launched. So why do they do this? What causes people to do this approach? Well, if you've been in the crypto market for a while, this is how it generally goes. So everybody in the crypto market knows that this is the trend for launches. Odds are the launch is not going to go well. They've got a pretty good probability that this is going to happen and the market's going to crash for that particular project. Odds are the launch is just going to go horribly. Now, in the case of Saitama, we're still over here and they're still fixing the launch. That's a significant amount of time. We're talking between November and January. So these people up here that sold made the right bet. They bet that the launch wasn't going to go well. It was a pretty epic failure for a launch event. And then it was about the launch over here. It had some pretty big issues, and we can kind of see where that led. But most of the time when you do a launch, the concept of buying the rumor and selling the news applies. Now, does this mean that you should sell? It's kind of up to you. Just keep in mind that there's capital gains you got to worry about when you sell as well if you've had that investment for less than 12 months. Not to mention any fees that the exchanges or the cryptos impose on you for selling. Next, coin and token. You're going to use these terms interchangeable, but they are a little bit different. In the big picture, a coin and a token represent a store of digital value that lives on a blockchain or some sort of a cryptocurrency network. Some blockchains have the same name for both the network and the coin, like Bitcoin, for example. Others can have different names for each, like Stellar Blockchain, which has the native coin called Lumen. And then you've got meme coins and meme tokens. So it can be kind of confusing. Think of Bitcoin as a coin. It's got its own blockchain. Then you go down to Shiba Inu, and that's a meme coin. And it's actually a token. It lives on the Ethereum network. Normally, Ethereum, Bitcoin, things that have their own blockchains are going to be considered coins. Things that live on those blockchains are going to be called tokens. Meme coins and tokens are based on internet memes, events, online communities, influencers. So that's a good way to look at coins, tokens, meme coins, and that kind of stuff. It's really not essential, but it can help with understanding what people are talking about. Just keep in mind, there are a lot of coins and tokens. If we go up to CoinGecko here, we can see there's 12,000 that they're tracking. If you go to CoinMarketCap, it's something like 17,000. So there's quite a few different cryptocurrencies out there between the tokens and the coins. Next, we've got HODL, or hold on for dear life. Now, funny story, HODL was actually a spelling error, but it does kind of make sense. Cryptocurrency is incredibly volatile. It is chaotic. It is crazy. So HODL is when you hold on for dear life. Generally, this means you've also got diamond hands, but you don't panic sell. You trust in the fundamentals of the token. Unless the fundamentals change, you can usually trust that it's going to be just fine in the 5 to 8 year perspective. So when you run into market conditions like we're currently in, where you can see there's a huge drop on Bitcoin, you can see there's a huge drop on Ethereum, you can see there's a huge drop on Binance, and pretty much the entire market is in the red, you hold on for dear life because you know it's going to end. Eventually, it will go back up because the fundamentals of all of these projects and all the cryptocurrencies that exist haven't changed. Now, if the federal government comes out tomorrow and says they're going to ban all of cryptocurrencies in the next week, you might want to consider selling. The fundamentals have changed. Now we're going to start pretty much all the other terms out there that you're going to hear, but they're not necessarily as important as the ones we've already covered. So first up, we've got altcoin. Now, altcoin just means anything other than Bitcoin. So when you're talking about altcoins, you're talking about Ethereum, Binance, Solana. So when you hear people say that altcoins are going to die or that they're never going to make it, they're really saying that the only thing that can be successful is Bitcoin. And that's kind of ridiculous because Bitcoin has very little utility other than as a store of value. Most other altcoins actually have utility. Next, we've got a bag. So when somebody asks you, what's your bag size? What they're asking is, how much money do you have in your wallet? Or probably a little bit more precisely, how much money do you have in your checking account or your savings account or all your accounts total? Now, I know that the rich really like to talk about their wealth and how wealthy they are and how much they're valued at. But outside of that group, it's not usually considered polite to go up to somebody and say, how much money do you have in your wallet? Or how much money do you have in your accounts? So when somebody asks you, what's your bag size? You can kind of just walk away. That is not a question you need to answer. It's irrelevant. Nobody should ask you, how much money do you have in your wallet? It's kind of ridiculous if you think about it. So why would somebody ask you what your bag size is? There are scammers out there that will target you based on the bag size. So when you post things about you've got this much money or you earned this much or you've got this number of tokens, that can later be used to target you, especially if you hit it off and get a lot of money. So I'm always cautious about talking about bag size. If you post on my videos talking about your bag size, most often I'll let you know the concern I've got with that, and then I'll delete your comment. That's to protect you from scammers out there that would target you. And since we're looking at a wallet, we may as well talk about what is a wallet. And no, it's not one of these, but it does store things that are valuable, such as crypto. But a crypto wallet is usually on one of these. So think of a wallet, but on a digital device, whether it's a computer or on a physical phone, that stores this. And that's really all a crypto wallet is. And yes, you're right, you can store it on an iPhone. You don't have to store it on an Android device. But generally speaking, you get more functionality out of an Android device over an iPhone. And this is because of the App Store's limitations on certain types of crypto, specifically NFTs. Apple wants their cut of everything that happens on their device. So NFTs have presented a challenge for iPhone users. If you really want the full functionality of crypto, you should probably think about getting an Android device as your crypto wallet. So what is a block? Well, a block is nothing more than a group of data within a blockchain. Seems pretty simple. So then a blockchain is nothing more than a sequence of blocks like these, basically data that are all connected. And that's essentially what a blockchain is. And they're generally connected in sequence, but that's not always the case either. Pretty simple, right? So what is a DAO, or a decentralized autonomous organization. You're going to hear this quite a bit. It just started up in the last year, and it's starting to get a little bit more common throughout the community, so you should probably be familiar with what a DAO is. And it's basically just a blockchain-based form of organization or a company that is often governed by a native crypto token. Anyone who purchases and holds these tokens gains the ability to vote on important matters. Basically, voting rights. They typically use smart contracts in place of traditional corporate structures to coordinate the efforts and resources of many towards common aims. They're self-executing computer programs that carry out a particular function when certain conditions are met. I know it's a little bit more complicated, but think of DAOs as essentially voting rights. You get to make decisions related to the cryptocurrency that you're talking about. What is DeFi, or decentralized finance? It's basically financial activities conducted without the involvement of an intermediary, such as a bank, government, or other financial institution. By eliminating the need for centralized financial institutions, we create a more open and trustworthy financial system. At least that's the hope. When used with blockchain technology, decentralized finance will reduce the risk of fraud, corruption, mismanagement of your assets. It will also make managing finance far more cost-effective and efficient, with no more overdraft fees, no cost for wire transfers, and no waiting on banking hours for a transaction to be verified. Blockchain technology is pretty quick. Decentralized finance is really the way of the future. So what is a hash? It's a unique string of numbers and letters that identify blocks and are tied to crypto buyers and sellers. So if we go to BSC scan or Etherscan or any of the different scanning tools out there for the different cryptocurrency you're looking at, it'll usually include the transaction hash. And it's usually just a long sequence of letters and numbers. This right here is a hash. So what is gas? You're going to hear about gas all the time, especially if you're playing around in the Ethereum network, because gas is kind of ridiculous on that network. But gas refers to the fee or the cost of the work required to successfully conduct a transaction or execute a contract on the blockchain. Faster transactions cost more gas. So if we look at the Ethereum gas tracker here, we can see low, average, and high, and roughly what it's going to cost if you go to some of these different areas. So right now you could pay potentially $44 for using high transaction speed. And these are constantly shifting. Now 119 is actually pretty low. It was quite a bit higher a day or two ago. And in my experience, this is actually underestimated on the actual cost. So if it says $44 here, plan for anywhere up to $110 or higher for your gas fees. That's been my experience with it, but maybe yours will be different. Now, every network has different fees for their gas, and a lot of the newer blockchains, you can pay less than a penny for transactions. And that's one of the things that the new version of Ethereum is supposed to fix, because right now, why would anybody want to do any transactions on the Ethereum network when you're going to pay potentially hundreds of dollars in gas fees? That's why I focus a lot more on other blockchains on this channel, because Ethereum is just ridiculous for your gas fees. Nobody wants to pay hundreds of dollars in fees. So what does mooning mean? And it basically just means you're going to go to the moon or the price is going to skyrocket. That's really what they're talking about when they say mooning, is that they're expecting the price to jump up. And you'll see things like this whenever people are talking about mooning or going to the moon. So what is an NFT, or a non-fungible token? NFTs are units of value used to represent the ownership of unique digital items like collectibles, music, pictures, and more recently, game items. The one I've got on the screen here is an NFT for Metabolic token that's going to be in some of their upcoming game releases. These are NFTs for Gallon token that'll also be part of game use for future games that they're releasing. These are all examples of NFTs that are going to be used inside of the Star Atlas gaming system once it launches. You can see there's a wide range of options when you're talking about NFTs. This hasn't even touched on music and video. So there are quite a few options when you're talking about NFTs. And they really only just started in 2021, so you're going to see a lot of expansion in this category going into 2022 and beyond. So what is a public key and a private key? No, it's not these kinds of keys that they're talking about. When anybody says a private key, they're talking about the encrypted code that allows direct access to your cryptocurrency. Like your bank account password is another way to look at it. So imagine giving somebody your private key is being the equivalent of giving them your username and your password. And it's usually represented as a seed phrase, which is a whole bunch of different words, but it can also be represented as a bunch of different letters and numbers. So you got to be careful with your seed phrase. You never want to give your private key to anybody. That gives them unlimited access to your account. Even if you put a passcode on your digital wallet, that is not the same as locking them out with your private key. That does not prevent them from using your private key to empty your account. So never give your private key to anybody, or another way is say, never give your seed phrase to anybody. It can be represented as a QR code in both the case of a private key and a public key. Public keys are kind of like the routing number on your account. You can usually give that to people without any issues. If somebody asks you for your wallet address, what they're asking for is that public key. And it's fine to share the QR code or your public address, but how many people would you normally give your routing number on your bank account to? Probably not that many, so you still want to keep control of this information. And you'll see on my channel, I try to mask it whenever I'm using my public key. Because why would I want anybody to be able to go look at my public address? Giving somebody your public key allows them to go look at everything that you've got inside of that wallet. So why would you want to do that? So a couple other things you're probably going to hear are proof of work and proof of stake. So think of proof of work as Bitcoin. Ethereum is still technically proof of work, but they're trying to move over to proof of stake. And they're the two major consensus mechanisms that cryptocurrencies use to verify new transactions, add them to the blockchain, and to create new tokens. Proof of work blockchains are secured and verified by virtual miners around the world, racing to be the first to solve a math puzzle. Proof of stake allow holders to stake their crypto for a chance to earn more crypto. The network selects a winner based on the amount of crypto each validator has in the pool and the length of time they've had it there, literally rewarding the most invested participants. In order to be a validator, the amount that you need to stake is generally really high. What is a public ledger? And there are private ledgers. A public ledger is basically when every single transaction is viewable by the public. And you can go to BSC scan and look up any address and look into it. And you can do the same thing with Ethereum and a whole bunch of other networks, but there are private ledgers out there. This is where giving somebody your public address, they can go look you up and see exactly what you've got in your account. It's not like a bank account where they can't necessarily see what's in your account. On a public ledger, you can actually see everything that's in your account and every transaction you've ever done. So what is a stablecoin or digital fiat? And basically a stablecoin pegs its value to some other non-digital currency or commodity, such as the US dollar, the euro. You can kind of see where I'm going with this. A digital fiat represents a fiat or a government-backed currency on the blockchain. So examples here would be Tether and USD coin. Those are the two primary examples for this content, but there are many other examples of stablecoins out there. So what is a burn or a token burn? You're not normally going to see a burn when you're talking about blockchain cryptos, but you will hear about burn all the time on tokens. And here we're looking at Evergrow coin and we're looking at the holders. The null address here is the burn wallet. You can see here they burn 52% of their total supply. Now, why would you want to burn the supply? Normally, burning the supply drives the price higher. And when you're talking about a quadrillion tokens, that's a lot of tokens. Bitcoin will only ever have 21 million Bitcoin. So 1 quadrillion is a massive supply. So they burn the supply to reward those early adopters that bought in. They might have got billions or even trillions of tokens. The more tokens that are burned, the higher the price gets. Now, while we're looking at this, what is a whale? If you own 5% of this token, you're a whale. You have $36 million invested into Evergrow coin. If this person was to sell $36 million worth of the crypto, the price would tank. It would probably trigger some sort of a sell-off where a whole bunch of people sell their crypto because that's a lot. So you got to be concerned about whales. And you should always try to look at the whale dominance for the token. Now, when tokens launch, they always have whales. It's unavoidable. And you're always going to have price fluctuations from them selling when they want to realize some of their profits, which is normal. Now, if you're looking at a project and you see that there's an address out there with 45% and it's not the burn address, you might want to ask some questions before you invest in that project because that's a lot of tokens. Well, that's pretty much everything for today's content. Hopefully you found the content helpful. Let me know in the comments, did I miss any terms that you didn't understand when you first got into crypto? Sometimes it's kind of hard to remember what I didn't know when I got into crypto. Hopefully this helps you get a better understanding of the terms if you're new to the crypto space. Until next time, stay strong with those diamond hands.